You are here because someone left, and you can't make it stop. The thoughts, the replays, the phantom conversations with someone who isn't listening anymore. You tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself this pain proves how real it was. You're wrong. Love doesn't do this. Love doesn't keep you awake at 3 a.m. scrolling through photographs of a ghost. Love doesn't make you check if they've watched your story. Love doesn't make you rehearse arguments you'll never have. This is not heartbreak. This is withdrawal. You are an addict, and the drug just walked out the door. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm not here to tell you it gets better with time. Time doesn't heal. Time just buries. And what's buried has a way of clawing back up. I'm here to tell you the truth, the brutal truth, the truth that will make you hate me for the first 10 minutes and thank me for the rest of your life. The person you're mourning, they never existed. The relationship you're grieving, it was a mirror. And you've been kneeling in front of broken glass, bleeding, wondering why your reflection won't love you back. This is not therapy. This is surgery. This is not healing. This is severance. And it begins with a question you're not ready to answer. What if the person who destroyed you was never the one who left? What if it was the one who stayed? What if it was you?
There's a phenomenon in medicine called the phantom limb. A soldier loses his arm in combat. The arm is gone, buried, burned, destroyed. But at night, he still feels it. He feels the fingers curling. He feels the pain in a hand that no longer exists. His brain hasn't accepted the loss. The neural pathways are still firing, reaching for something that will never reach back. This is you right now. You are missing a limb, and you can still feel them. Their voice, their smell, the weight of their body next to yours at 2 a.m. You reach for your phone to text them. Then you remember. But the remembering doesn't stop the reaching. Dr. Helen Fisher spent decades scanning the brains of the heartbroken. She put people who had just been rejected into MRI machines. She showed them photographs of the person who left, and she watched their brains light up. Not the logic centers, not the emotional processing regions, the addiction centers, the same regions that activate for cocaine, for heroin, for nicotine. The ventral tegmental area, the nucleus accumbens, the dopamine reward circuits, firing, screaming, demanding. You are not heartbroken. You are in withdrawal. Your brain formed a chemical dependency on another human being. Every time they touched you, dopamine. Every time they texted you, dopamine. Every time they looked at you like you were the only person in the room, dopamine. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, a cocktail more addictive than any substance on earth, and you took it every day. Then the supply was cut. No warning, no tapering off, cold turkey. And now your brain is cannibalizing itself, trying to manufacture hits from memories, from photographs, from the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, they'll come back. This is not weakness. This is chemistry. This is not you being pathetic. This is your neurons screaming for one more hit of a drug that walked out the door. But here's what no one tells you. Here's the part that changes everything. The craving is not love. The craving is not proof that they were the one. The craving is your reward system trying to survive. Your brain doesn't know the difference between I love them and I am addicted to the feeling they gave me. It only knows source of dopamine is gone. Find source, return to source, die without source. This is why you check their Instagram. This is why you drive past their apartment. This is why you reread old messages at 4 a.m., looking for hidden meanings that were never there. You're not searching for closure, you're searching for a fix. And every time you find a crumb, a post they liked, a song they might be listening to, a rumor about who they're seeing now, your brain gets a microdose, just enough to keep you sick, just enough to keep you addicted, just enough to keep you crawling. So, let me be clear, the pain you feel right now is real, but it is not sacred. It is not proof of love. It is the death rattle of a dependency. You are not mourning a person, you are mourning a chemical. But if everyone goes through this withdrawal, if this is universal biology, then why do some men walk away in weeks? Why do some men rebuild in months, while others, like you, are still trapped years later? Because the biology is just the cage. Your psychology is the one who swallowed the key. You're not just suffering, you're feeding the suffering, you're nurturing it, you're keeping it alive, and you don't even know you're doing it.
Let me describe your ritual. You know the one. It's late. The world is asleep, but you're not. You can't be, because the silence is when they visit. You pick up your phone. You know you shouldn't. You've told yourself 100 times, don't do it. But your thumb has its own memory. And before you can stop yourself, you're there, looking at their life without you. And the knife twists. But you don't put the phone down. You keep scrolling, keep looking, keep stabbing yourself. Why? Why do you do this to yourself? Sigmund Freud called it repetition compulsion. In 1920, he published Beyond the Pleasure Principle. He observed something that made no sense. Trauma survivors kept recreating their trauma. Veterans would have nightmares that put them back in the trenches. Abuse survivors would find new abusers. The abandoned would abandon themselves again and again. Freud asked, if humans seek pleasure and avoid pain, why do we return to what hurts us? His answer was dark. We repeat the trauma because repetition gives us the illusion of control. If I hurt myself before the world can hurt me, I am the one holding the knife. You check their social media because the uncertainty is unbearable. Not knowing what they're doing, who they're with, if they've forgotten you. The not knowing is a torture chamber. So you seek the information, you find the photograph, you see them happy, and it destroys you. But at least you know. At least the waiting is over, for now, until tomorrow, when the not knowing builds again, and you return to the ritual. This is not weakness. This is not stupidity. This is slot machine psychology. In the 1950s, B.F. Skinner discovered something terrifying. He put rats in cages with levers. Press the lever, get a food pellet. Simple. But then he made the reward unpredictable. Sometimes pressing the lever gave food. Sometimes it gave nothing. Sometimes it gave a shock. The rats with unpredictable rewards became obsessed. They pressed the lever more than the rats who got food every time. They pressed it until they collapsed. Unpredictable reward is the most addictive pattern in nature, and your relationship was nothing but unpredictable reward. Sometimes they adored you, sometimes they ignored you, sometimes they made you feel like the center of the universe, sometimes they made you feel like you didn't exist. And now that they're gone, you're still pressing the lever, checking their profile, refreshing the page, hoping for one more hit, one more sign, one more breadcrumb. But it goes deeper than addiction. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, understood something most people refuse to accept. He wrote, "Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." You think you want to stop suffering, but you don't, not really. Because suffering gives you something. It gives you identity. It gives you proof. Proof that you loved deeply. Proof that you are not shallow. Proof that you are a man who feels. The wound becomes the badge. The grief becomes the personality. I am the one who was broken by love. And as long as you wear that badge, you never have to move forward. You never have to risk again. You never have to become someone new. You are not suffering. You are performing suffering. You are rehearsing it, perfecting it, becoming it. And the cruelest part? You think this makes you deep. You think this makes you loyal. You think this makes you better than the people who move on too fast. But you are not loyal. You are not deep. You are a prisoner who has fallen in love with his chains. You think you're weak. You think you're broken, but you're not. You are worshiping at an altar, and the God you pray to,
The perfect love you've constructed in your memory, that God has a name. And when you see what you've been worshiping, when you see it clearly, the spell breaks.
Who are you mourning? Think carefully. Picture them, their face, their voice, the way they looked at you when things were good. That person, the one in your head right now, the one you would do anything to have back, they never existed. What you're mourning is a projection, a mental sculpture you built from selected moments. You took every good memory and carved it into a god, and you forgot, conveniently, strategically, deliberately, every reason you were unhappy. This is not love. This is mythology. Jacques Lacan was a French psychoanalyst who understood something disturbing about human identity. He described what he called the mirror stage. When an infant first sees itself in a mirror, it experiences jubilation. That is me. But the image is external. The sense of self is constructed from outside. We spend the rest of our lives seeking mirrors, seeking external validation to tell us who we are. And romantic love? Romantic love is the most powerful mirror of all. When they chose you, when they looked at you with desire, when they said, "I love you," they weren't just accepting you, they were defining you. You are worthy, you are desirable, you are enough. And now that they're gone, the mirror is shattered, and you don't know who you are anymore. You think you miss them, but you miss the version of yourself that existed in their eyes. This is what Heinz Kohut called narcissistic supply. Not narcissism in the Instagram sense, not vanity, something deeper, more primal, more human. From childhood, most of us learned that our worth depends on what others think of us. Parents who only loved us when we performed, schools that ranked us against each other, a society that measures value in attention. And so we became addicted to being seen, addicted to being wanted, addicted to being chosen. Your partner was your primary supplier. Every kiss was a hit. Every "I love you" was a fix. Every night they chose your bed was proof that you mattered. And now the supply is cut, and you are starving. Not for them, for the feeling of being enough. Plato wrote about prisoners in a cave. They were chained from birth. They could only see the wall, and on the wall shadows danced. They thought the shadows were reality. They gave the shadows names. They loved the shadows. Then one prisoner broke free. He turned around. He saw the fire. He saw that the shadows were just projections. He climbed out of the cave and he saw the sun, the real world, blinding, terrifying, true. You are still in the cave. You are still in love with a shadow. The person you're mourning, you don't know them. You never did. You knew the parts they showed you. You knew the version they performed. You knew the shadow, and you projected onto that shadow everything you lacked, everything you wanted to believe about yourself, everything you needed to feel whole. You didn't fall in love with a person. You fell in love with a void inside yourself, and you painted their face on it. So who are you without them? If you don't know, if that question terrifies you, then you've discovered the real problem. You weren't in a relationship, you were in a dependency. And the person you thought you loved, they were just a mirror you used to avoid looking at your own emptiness. This is not cruelty, this is liberation. Because when you see the idol for what it is, when you see that you've been kneeling before a ghost, you can finally stand up. But first, you must understand the chain that kept you kneeling. And that chain has a name too. Power. You've been in a war, and you didn't even know you were losing.
Let me tell you something that will hurt. Every second you spend thinking about them, mourning them, hating them, wishing they would come back, wishing they would suffer, You are on your knees, not metaphorically, psychologically, spiritually, literally. They are living rent-free in your mind. They occupy your first thought in the morning, your last thought at night. They dictate whether today is a good day or a bad day. They control whether a song makes you smile or breaks you. They are your master, and you are their slave. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about this in Beyond Good and Evil. He described two types of morality, master morality and slave morality. The master defines values. The master creates meaning. The master says, "This is good because I say it is good." The slave reacts. The slave is defined by opposition. The slave says, "I am good because they are bad." Nietzsche called this ressentiment, a French word, not quite resentment, something deeper, sicker. Ressentiment is when your entire sense of self is constructed in reaction to someone else. You are not you, you are not them. And right now, your entire identity is structured around the absence of one person. You are the one who was left. You are the one who was broken. You are the one who loved too much. This is slavery. Robert Greene wrote 48 Laws of Power. Law 36 is one of the most brutal. Disdain things you cannot have. He wrote, by acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence and credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him. Read that again. The more attention you pay, the stronger you make them. Every time you think about them, you are making them more powerful. Every time you stalk their profile, you are bowing. Every time you replay the breakup, you are handing them the crown. They may not even know you're doing this. They may not care. They may be asleep right now, happy, oblivious. But in your mind, they are God, and you have made yourself the worshiper. This is what evolutionary psychology calls the mate value hierarchy. In every human interaction, romantic or otherwise, there's a power dynamic. The person who needs less holds more power. The person who can walk away is free. Your desperation signals low value, not because desperation is bad, but because biologically, primitively, desperation signals scarcity, and scarcity signals weakness. The breakup didn't just end a relationship, it placed you at the bottom of the hierarchy, in your own mind. And the only way to climb back up is to stop looking at the person above you. Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. You have been gazing into them, and you have become nothing." But here's what will change everything. Here's the part that separates the man who recovers in months from the one who stays broken for years. Your suffering is not happening to you. You are doing it. Every day you wake up and choose to think about them. Every night you choose to check their profile. Every memory is a choice to press play. This is not biology. This is not fate. This is not love. This is a decision you are making on repeat, and decisions can be unmade. But only if you understand something the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. You have been living in a cage, but the door has never been locked.
In 1946, a man walked out of Auschwitz. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist, Holocaust survivor. A man who lost his wife, his parents, his brother. A man who was starved, beaten, and worked to the edge of death. And when he emerged from that hell, he didn't write about the horrors. He wrote about meaning. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Read that until it breaks you. To choose one's attitude. Frankl watched men die in the camps, not from starvation, not from the guards, from giving up. And he watched other men survive, not because they were stronger, not because they were luckier, because they chose a different story. The suffering was identical,
The response was a choice. And you, what is your excuse? You lost a relationship, not your family, not your freedom, not your limbs, a relationship, and you have decided to make it your Auschwitz. This is not cruelty, this is truth. And the truth will either destroy you or rebuild you. There is no middle ground. Epictetus was a Stoic philosopher. He was born a slave. Literally, his leg was broken by his master and never healed. He limped for the rest of his life, and from that life, a life of chains and pain, he taught the most powerful principle ever conceived, the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our power, and some things are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are body, property, reputation, office, whatever is not of our own doing. Let me translate. You cannot control whether they come back. You cannot control whether they're happy without you. You cannot control the past. You cannot control their thoughts about you. You cannot control whether you deserved this. But you can control what you think. You can control what you do with your pain. You can control whether you pick up the phone or put it down. You can control whether you scroll or close the app. You can control whether you stay in bed or get up and move. Every ounce of suffering you feel about things you cannot control is voluntary. You are choosing to invest your limited energy into things you cannot change, and then wondering why you feel powerless. The Buddha taught something similar. He spoke of the two arrows. The first arrow is pain. It strikes you without warning. The breakup, the rejection, the loss. This arrow is unavoidable. It is the nature of life. But then we pick up the second arrow and we stab ourselves with it again and again and again. The second arrow is the story we tell about the pain. I'll never find love again. I was a fool. I'm unlovable. They were my only chance. The first arrow is not your fault. The second arrow is your choice, and you have been choosing it every single day. So here's the question. The door is open. Why are you still sitting in the cell? Because pain is familiar. Because suffering is identity. Because if you leave the cell, you don't know who you'll be. The cage isn't comfortable, but it's known, and the unknown is worse than pain. Until it isn't. Until you decide that the man who sits in that cage deserves to die. Not literally, psychologically, and a new man walks out. But walking out is not enough. You need a protocol, a system, a ritual of severance so complete that the old you cannot follow. And it begins now.
Detachment is not passive. It is not letting go. It is not waiting for time to heal. Time does not heal. Time buries, and what is buried festers. Detachment is active. It is surgical. It is the deliberate amputation of the part of you that still reaches for them, and it requires 3 operations. Phase 1, retrieval. Reclaim your energy. Every thought you send them is energy you lose. Every memory you replay is power you give away. Every time you wonder what they're doing, you are leaking. You must retrieve this energy. You must call it back. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca would begin each day by imagining the worst, his house burning, his wealth stolen, his friends betraying him, his own death, not because he was morbid, because he understood. What you fear controls you. What you have already accepted cannot hurt you. So here is your exercise. Close your eyes. Imagine them. Now imagine them happy. Imagine them laughing with someone new. Imagine them in love again. Imagine them never thinking about you. Imagine them living their best life while you are completely erased from their memory. Sit with it. Don't run. Don't scroll. Don't numb. Feel it. And when the worst has been faced, when you've swallowed the poison willingly, it loses its power.
You cannot be afraid of what you have already accepted. Second retrieval, the burning ritual. You know what you've been keeping, the relics, the artifacts of a dead religion. Write a letter, everything you never said, every accusation, every apology, every pathetic plea. Do not send it. That is not for them, that is for you. Now, burn it. Watch the words become ash. Watch your prayers to a false god turn to smoke. Now the photographs, now the gifts, now the hoodie. Delete the messages, delete the contact, unfollow, block, erase, not out of hatred, out of respect. Respect for your own future. Third retrieval, shadow work. Carl Jung wrote about the shadow self, the parts of you that you've disowned, the parts you've hidden, the parts you've projected onto others. Here's the question that will unlock everything. What quality did they have that you secretly wish you had? Were they confident? You didn't love them, you envied them. Were they free? You didn't miss them, you missed freedom. Were they desired by others? You didn't want them, you wanted to be desired. You fell in love with your own undeveloped potential and you outsourced it to another person. The spell breaks when you stop externalizing your power. Become what you worshipped. The spell breaks. Phase 2, replacement. Rewire the reward system. Your brain has a problem. It has been trained for months, maybe years, to associate one person with dopamine. Every time you think of them, this pathway fires. It is a superhighway. And right now, you're trying to fight biology with willpower. That doesn't work. Dr. Andrew Huberman, Stanford neuroscientist, explains neuroplasticity. The brain changes based on what you repeatedly do. Neurons that fire together wire together. You cannot simply stop thinking about them. You must replace the thought with an action every time. The craving hits. Instead of scrolling, 20 push-ups. Instead of texting, cold shower. Instead of ruminating, deep work. 45 minutes, no interruption. The pain doesn't disappear. You redirect it. You channel it. You convert poison into fuel. Every time you feel the pull, acknowledge it, then move. Eventually, the old highway starts to decay and a new path forms. This is not suppression. This is rewiring. This is using their memory as a trigger for your transformation. Phase 3, resurrection. Rebuild identity from zero. You were someone before them. You've forgotten. What did you love before they defined your worth? What goals did you abandon when the relationship became your identity? What version of yourself did you sacrifice on the altar of we? That man is still alive, buried but breathing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The world owes you nothing. That person owes you nothing. Closure is a myth sold to the weak. The only thing you are owed is what you build with your own hands. Enter monk mode. For the next 90 days, no dating apps, no social media scrolling, no seeking validation from anyone. Just work, just discipline, just the slow, brutal reconstruction of a man who doesn't need anyone to feel whole. This is not punishment, this is incubation. You are not healing, you are building something new from the wreckage, something unrecognizable, something they wouldn't even understand. But this is still not the end. Detachment is not the destination, it is the doorway. And on the other side is a version of you even you have never met.
You were not destroyed by this loss. You were selected. Selected for transformation. Selected for death and what comes after death. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote a phrase that most people misunderstand. Amor Fati, love of fate. Not acceptance, not tolerance, not making peace with what happened. Love. He wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity."
Read that until it terrifies you. Wants nothing to be different, not tolerates what happened, not moves on from what happened, wants nothing different. The breakup, the betrayal, the months of suffering, the humiliation. What if you needed all of it? What if you would not have chosen differently? What if this was not a tragedy, but an initiation? Nassim Taleb wrote about antifragility. Some things are fragile, they break under stress. Some things are resilient, they survive stress and return to normal. But some things are antifragile, they need stress to grow stronger. Your bone gets denser when you lift heavy. Your calluses thicken when you grip the bar. Your mind sharpens when it's forced to endure. You are not resilient. You are not meant to return to who you were before. You are anti-fragile. You were meant to be broken by this, because only in breaking could you be reforged. Joseph Campbell spent his life studying myths. Every hero's journey across every culture follows the same pattern. The hero lives in an ordinary world. Then comes the call, the descent, the underworld. In the underworld, the hero faces the dragon, the shadow, the thing that wants to consume him. And if he survives, if he slays the dragon, he returns transformed with the elixir. Not the same man who entered, something else, something more. This is you. This has been you all along. You were not a victim of heartbreak. You were the hero being forged by it. The phoenix does not survive the fire. Let that sink in. The phoenix dies completely. What rises from the ash is not the same bird. It is a new creation, born from destruction, made possible only by destruction. You do not move on. You do not get over it. You become unrecognizable. The man who begged is dead. The man who needed is ash. The man who walks out of this fire is mythological. So here is your choice. You can close this video, return to the scrolling, return to the 3 a.m. rituals, return to the cage that still has your scent on the bars. Or you can do what kings do. Take the crown from the ashes, place it on your own head, and disappear into your own becoming. The breakup was not the end of your story. It was the violent, necessary, and beautiful beginning of your ascension. You now have everything you need: the knowledge, the protocol, the truth. The only question left is the one you must answer alone, in the silence when no one is watching. Are you worthy of what comes next? The severance is complete. You are free.